Torchwood Soho as a range is all about a group of misfits from the 1950s who are saving the world and the British Empire from themselves and from alien threats. It is based primarily around the character of Norton Folgate, who is mercurial, he's duplicitous, he's a nasty piece of work, but also he's a wonderful person who wants to save the world so long as he is in charge of it.
Norton Folgate is a difficult man to pin down. He is gay, which obviously in the 1950s he had to be very much undercover. But I think because he sort of works undercover anyway, and he kind of works behind the scenes in quite a murky way, I think he gets to hide behind that bit of power. I think especially with the way we've decided to play him.
You know, he is the ultimate demon twink. He is dangerous. He is unpredictable. He has complicated plans that always go horribly wrong. And yet sometimes he always manages to save the day at the end. And it's about the group of people who are around him. There's Sergeant Andy, who is on loan from the 21st century, who's sort of like Norton's conscience.
So Andy's definitely changed since we first saw him in the TV show. And it's not just his hairline that's changed. I think that he has become a bit more astute. I think he does think about things a bit more, and he tries to sometimes do some detecting. He's got like an inner Sherlock who comes out every now and again, which I would say in the first iteration, if you like, of Andy, he was more interested in sausage rolls, and now he's more interested in the roles of different people around him, and he plays people a bit more. I mean, fundamentally, he's still a man who wants his lunch, but there's other things going on there as well, which have come out a bit more. And also, I think he's got, if anything, a bit more passionate about stuff, about doing the right thing.
There's Gideon Lyme. Gideon is Norton's better half. Gideon is Norton's boyfriend, sort of, but also is the person who stands there and goes, could you stop doing that?
I play Gideon Lyme, and he is from the 1950s, and he's a journalist, and he is sometimes Norton's partner and sometimes not Norton's partner. But he's very much a constant in Norton's life.
So this latest series of Torchwood Soho is about something called Ascension, which is a big mystery for Torchwood. Essentially, they're led to believe that people are being kind of beamed up to heaven. And it's the perfect thing for Torchwood to investigate, because Norton suspects that it's not really heaven. I don't think he really believes in heaven. He suspects that it's some sort of alien interference. And as ever, it's very murky as to who's on the right side and the wrong side of this. This is what I quite like about this particular script, is you never quite know. Ascension possibly could ultimately be a good thing, but the people who try to harness it are not necessarily doing good things with it.
It's about faith, and it's, you know, the possibility of what may come afterwards, which is quite interesting for the character of Gideon, because I think he did grow up as a man of faith, but he believes in something else. He believes that the soul does something afterlife, but he's not quite as much as a believer as some of the characters that we're going to meet in this episode.
I think Torchwood tackles issues of sexuality, racism, sexism, misogyny head on. It's never shied away. What's lovely is that it weaves them into the fabric of the scripts. Sometimes it's really explicit, sometimes it's implicit.
As actors and as people working on the script, you have to be aware of the social, cultural and historical context of stuff. So people might see that there is an undercurrent depending on how some people are treated within this world.
You know, if you look at the literature of the 1950s, there are gay characters, but it's only sort of when you get to like the 1960s and A Taste of Honey, starring of all things Murray Melvin, that you actually start to see these lives being represented on screen. Whereas if you've read about that period, there was so much queer life going on in that period, which was never acknowledged or celebrated, or if it was just addressed with a slighting reference to a pansy bar or something like that. But Soho was just this hotbed of weird, mad filth. And we've addressed it in some of the adventures with Norton Folgate.
I think one of the great things about the characters working with here, you've got Norton and Gideon, you've got someone who is a character who's gay in the 1950s, you've got someone who is gay and black in the 1950s, and I think it's great to have that addressed in fiction, obviously, but especially with sci-fi. I think it's something that sci-fi's got a great power to do. Travel back in time and take modern attitudes and look at how it was back then and compare it to now. Have we moved on? Have we moved on enough? And ask all these questions. And I think with two great actors as well and great script writers, it's a good place for that stuff to happen. And it's really interesting.
We've had a brilliant time making this box set. I always enjoy it. There's always, it's lovely seeing Dervla Cohen and Tom Price and Joe Sherry, like that sort of core team. It's so lovely to come back together. But then they always get such brilliant actors in to play all the other roles as well. This one has just been particularly fun and a lot of laughter. And I think it's a really tight script. It moves really well. It's a really good story. And I just hope people love it as much as we do.